Okay, we gotta talk about this chapter. We have to talk about this chapter of My Hero Academia, because as you can see on screen, a lot of stuff happened. A lot of crazy stuff, and a lot of things that can really shake up the story of the series and potentially make the deadline of My Hero Academia ending this year extended into way into next year for the manga. So let's dive headfirst into it. So let's let's just back up to the first page. So chapter 357 starts off with All For One trying to block an attack from Endeavor. And it opens up nicely with seeing this nice panel here of All For One remembering All Might and saying that Endeavor is giving him that feeling, that same emotion that All Might gave him. Probably one of my favorite moments of the entirety of My Hero Academia was when All For One made a declaration to All Might back in, All Might versus All For One fight. And he's like, I still have nightmares to this day of you coming at me with your organs hanging out trying to beat me down. That moment that happened, in the manga a long time ago, and it even happened in the anime, was one of the most hype moments because it really showed that All For One felt fear. He was scared, legitimately scared of All Might. And that fear has kind of plagued him in his dreams for many, many years. And so when you see this, panel here opened up with him being reminded of All Might and that fear of a hero being backed into a corner will come at you savagely, it's an amazing feeling. This is truly a great start to a chapter. I'm just gonna say, you know what? I wanna have a hot take here, or at least, it's not meant to be a pun either, but a hot take. Anytime Endeavor has a focus of a chapter, like a true focus in a chapter, the chapter is really high quality. Call me biased, whatever you want or whatever, because I am an Endeavor fanboy. I love his character arc and his story, etc. But I feel like Horikoshi, he has spent so much time with Endeavor's character and given him so much panel time that at this point, Endeavor might as well be our main character. I'm going to be honest with you. I could be wrong with this, because obviously someone's probably going to do the math, someone's going to go back to the panels and potentially count it, etc. But I truly think Endeavor has gotten more panel time than Izuku. I'm serious. I believe that. I do believe that, he has. Ever since, chapter, 200, pretty much, Endeavor's kind of been, the spotlight, the real main front and center spotlight, and Izuku barely shows up in chapters. He does, in this chapter, but he doesn't have a whole lot of panel time as much as I think Endeavor does, and I feel like anytime an Endeavor chapter happens, it's really hype, because obviously we've spent so much time with his character, so much development, and he's cool, because he's All Might, but weaker version, and putting a lot more effort and passion into being as strong as All Might, or trying to be as strong as All Might, and I love his character for that, and I think many of us love Endeavor for those very same reasons. And so when I see this chapter, it's incredibly hype just to see how far he pushes himself, and just how amazing Horikoshi-sensei has written Endeavor's character. If there is one thing I will say that Horikoshi-sensei has done good, even if he's being rushed, etc., he's done a fantastic job with Endeavor. He really has, and I love this chapter. I really do. So let's dive headfirst into this. So we see this incredible page. My camera might be blocking it a little bit, but this right here, the wounded heroes are always the scariest. This has to be the most raw image, I think, we have had in a while. It is just straight a raw image. It looks like Fire Punch. It reminds me of, something maybe you might see from Fire Punch. Just seeing Endeavor's, literally charred arm, cut off arm, and then charred. You just see the flames coming in and forming into a fist about to punch him. And you see Endeavor trying to breathe deep, and you see fire come out of his mouth and all that, like he's some form of dragon. And then he goes instantly to All For One's face to go at him and punch him and all that. It's an incredible looking page. Seriously, Horikoshi-sensei, I know how to dedicate a lot of time to this part of the chapter. It is absolutely beautiful. Peak. It is literally peak artwork from Horikoshi, and I love this so freaking much. It is such a good freaking panel. But okay, So, as it continues, obviously, he hits All For One, and All For One in his mind, like, he's thinking, like, I can potentially fight back, I can counter, and that is why, Endeavor doesn't use Prominence Burn. He knocks him down with Jet Burn, and, he's about to go in and all that, and as he's going in, you just see him lighting All For One up, literally burning him, breaking through, like, his barrier. You see him, shattering him, and Endeavor's literally roaring in fire. Like, his eyes look like they have fire coming out of it. It is absolutely ridiculous, but obviously, that's not even all. Like, I can imagine the sound effects, like, at this bottom right panel, of just the impact of Endeavor coming in. Like, you remember when All For One and, All Might fought, in the anime, Season 3, there was an incredible moment where, All Might rushes in, and even in the manga, too, where he rushes in, and he lands right on top of All For One, and All For One grabs All Might and all that, he grabs his fist, but it's a really great panel that happened a long time ago. I think many of you know what panel I'm talking about. That's what I get from this scene, where he just rushes in, and he pushes All For One down on the ground, and you just see the fire spark up and all that. I can hear the sound effects in my head from that. That just sounds so freaking cool in my head, and I honestly cannot wait to see how the anime adapts this part. But as it continues on, what's really cool about this is that All For One thought about something I think many of us are thinking about. It's like, if you get too close to the man, he can steal your quirk. We know this. We know All For One is capable of that. If he puts his hand on you, you're done. Your quirk's gone. And we see him start to process this. He's like, so Endeavor's very close to me. I just gotta get my hand on him. His quirk is gone. I win. And that is definitely true. But here's the thing. Obviously, Endeavor knows this, and I like how he is superheated so much right now. He literally has flames come out of his eyes like freaking lasers. Like, look, like you can see it for yourself. Flames come out of his eyes and hit All For One's hand and chars his hand up where he can't even pretty much use it anymore. That is crazy. Legitimately crazy. I would be honestly surprised if Endeavor isn't, like, retiring after this fight or just straight up dies. Like, I will be in a state of shock, because I cannot imagine heat to that extent. Yes, even if his body is a little bit more resistant to it, I cannot imagine heat to that extent literally pouring out of your eyes would be good for your eyes. I'm just saying. I'm just gonna be honest here. And I mean, obviously, the lack of arm and the gaping hole in the side, there's definitely a lot of things that's playing a part of him potentially retiring or, dying when this is all said and done. But, yeah, this is ridiculous. Like, absolutely a ridiculous, just little chapter, honestly, for Endeavor. Now, one thing, though, in particular that stands out to me, and I kind of already talked about at the beginning of this video, is the fact that Endeavor talks about what he is, what his role is, what he's been doing, how he is literally the embodiment of rage. I love this. Like, it's a really nice send-off and message for Endeavor's character, because he realizes at least what this page does, and I think Horikoshi incorporates this perfectly with Endeavor's character. He's like, no matter what he does, no matter what he tries to do, if he tries to, seek forgiveness and tries to do the right thing, nothing will ever get rid of the bad things he has done. And we have seen this from the community. Like, let's be honest, okay? If you're a My Hero Academia manga reader or anime watcher, you've seen the community. There's obviously two sides. One just absolutely loathes Endeavor. They hate his character. They hate anytime he is in the spotlight because they just cannot get past of what he's done in his past. And obviously that does play a role with his character. And then obviously there's some that just, are happy to see Endeavor, such as myself, and even though he's done bad things, we want to see him try to change and be better. And I feel like what this chapter encompasses, or what Endeavor's speech is here to himself, and what Horikoshi-sensei is doing throughout the writing, is basically saying, yes, he is aware that no matter what he does, how he takes Endeavor's character, how cool he makes him, how crazy awesome he is, there's gonna be those that just absolutely loathe him, hate him to the point to where they'll never see him as a good character. Not as a good person either, but as a good character, because they just hate him. And I think this is so good. It's such a raw chapter, really showing that emotion that Endeavor, he carries that. He carries that weight on his back. Horikoshi technically carries that as well, and he doesn't care. He will continue to forge that path for what he wants. He will forge a path for the next generation. Honestly, absolutely beautiful message, multi-layered. You can really get a lot from just this page alone is just the message of what Horikoshi-sensei is trying to tell the audience, what Endeavor's trying to tell to himself, what he's saying, you know, about his family, etc. This is a good page. Legitimately might be the best page of, you know, the entire chapter. If we're not talking artwork or just epicness, this is a good page for character development. Now, here's the thing. When all that's said and done, obviously, Endeavor literally uses Prominence Burn. He melts All for One literally into ash. You literally see him crumbling away, and, you know, he realizes that even if, let's say, All for One had regeneration, his body isn't as sturdy as Shigaraki's, so he definitely would be done. Said and done. Over. And so, as he's disappearing, as the man slowly evaporates, you see the man start to talk, saying, you know, do you really think, you know, he would casually just be turned into ash? Do you think that it's only heroes that can be backed into a corner and somehow have absurd strength? He's like, you know, I'm a villain. I'm basically the main villain. You know, I have a final form. This isn't even my final form. I have a final form. And that's pretty much what, you know, All for One says to him. And you see an ear pop up, you see an eye appear, and you also see a panel with Eri here on the bottom left, and it's very clear what this is indicating. I think everybody can kind of get a grasp of this. Basically, the quirk erasing bullets that was given to, you know, the good doctor that Shigaraki gave the bullets to, obviously, he probably looked at what was in it, he realized it was quirk erasing bullets, and he probably did something with it, re-engineered the quirk, and he gave it to All for One. And so All for One recently got the quirk rewind, or, you know, reversal, to be able to use. And he even says himself, he hasn't really got to use it, he never used it before, because he never had a chance, and it was obviously incredibly dangerous. I mean, for all he knows, if he would have used it wrong, it would have completely destroyed him and ruined everything. So he didn't want to do that until he was certain it was a-okay for him to use it, basically a last resort. And so, in this page, which is very creepy, by the way, it's good, you know, horror manga fashion from Horikoshi-sensei, you see an eye appear and an ear appear, and what I gather from this is that his very body is regenerating, or reversing in time. Now, we don't know to what extent, we don't know how far the reversal can go, but we do know that when it comes to Rewind, Eri's quirk, theoretically, her rewind rewinds everything. Time on the body itself. It can make old wounds reappear. It can, you know, cause you to be back in a earlier state. You know, different things can happen. And so it's up in the air exactly what will happen to All for One. And there's other things that you can really get from it. I mean, if he does reverse to such a point so far back, it's possible he could have the original All for One, and then there's another original All for One within Shigaraki. And so there's ways to look at this. There is ways. Like, if this reversal actually works to that extent, and he becomes full, once again, for instance, whole, and, you know, he has his eyes, he has his ears, his hair, etc., and, you know, he is in perfect condition before All Might fought him, it would make him in a state to where he is literally at his peak. Which means that, you know, he might be stronger than Shigaraki. And so, I am curious on where Horikoshi-sensei wants to take this, because if All for One legitimately does gain his old body back before All Might messed him up, this means that All for One might just go over to Shigaraki and try to, you know, get everything from Shigaraki, all the quirks, etc. How would that work? Would he have double All for One? There's a lot of questions I have. So, yeah, it's a very incredible cliffhanger, and then obviously you see a few things, like in the sky, like you see, like, oh man, 5, 6, 7, 8 dots. I mean, we can assume a few things, maybe the things that's heading at Izuku at the end of the chapter is, like, Nomus, or it can be maybe fighter jets. I mean, we do know that there's potential jets that might be able to come in and fly Izuku faster to the battlefield, you know, different things like that, but, yeah, this is an incredible chapter. Good chapter of My Hero Academia, and I think, though, that even though My Hero Academia has had a lot of problems in recent chapters, I think that this is a really good chapter, and I think that, you know, it just once again goes to show that Endeavor really is a interesting character to have on panel, I mean, given how much panel time he's had. But yeah, I'm going to leave it at that, though. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, you know, please leave me a like. It does help me out a lot. And with that, guys, be safe, stay healthy, Chibi out.